Darren, do you think we will leave the ECHR?
Well, I mean, fundamentally, right, why are we having this conversation? And we're having it because we all recognise, or most of us at least, not those on the sort of nutty, loony left, but it ought to be a basic right of every country to be able to say, yeah, you can come here, or no, you can't come here. I mean, recently, right, the government launched a UK small boats unit, Jess, that actually took away the armed forces responsibilities in the English Channel. And it's called this new small boats unit. And I actually call it a taxi service, Jess, with a new label on it, because this stuff won't end until we leave the ECHR. I mean, Macron and France, they're laughing at us, right? They don't want to keep most of these people on their own shores who are looking for jobs and opportunities, or to get up to crime and God only knows what else in this country. And they don't want them. So they're happy to take our millions and allow us to look like complete and utter mugs. And I just don't think the British people are going to put up with it for all that much longer. But ultimately, right, it wouldn't be possible for Rishi Sunak to get leaving the ECHR through the House of Commons right now, because it's not in his manifesto, right? You have the Salisbury Convention where the House of Lords can say, well, hang on a minute, Rishi Sunak, what mandate do you have to do this? It wasn't, you haven't stood on a manifesto with this pledge. And let's not forget how much the House of Lords resolutely stood against Brexit, right? You've got so many technocrats in there. It looks like a retirement home for the European Sodden Parliament. But I actually think it's clever politics. And I don't say this about Rishi Sunak very often, or at least I haven't so far, because if he does put it in his manifesto, how can Sir Keir Starmer and his pro-mass migration Home Secretary, or his candidate for Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, actually challenge that policy? That have no challenge or no commitment to match it, and that have no answer of how they would actually stop the small boat flood that's predicted to increase just to a whopping 65,000 illegal arrivals this year. 65,000 people that need to be housed, that need to have benefits, that need to have boat, that need to, have the energy bills paid for and all the rest of it, dentistry, NHS treatment. Meanwhile, people in here getting through your receptionist at a GP these days is like trying to break into Fort Knox. It's a complete absurdity. We haven't got the resources for these people. And frankly, if you don't have regard for our law, for law and order in Britain, then I'm not sure we want you here. So it's a top priority for the British people. And if Rishi Sunak follows through with this, Jess, I think Suella Braverman's serious about it. If Rishi Sunak matches that seriousness, I think he's going to really show the Labour Party up here, because they will have absolutely no reply. All they'll be able to say is that we cannot leave the ECHR because we are a founding member of it. Well, so what, right? We've been a founding member of many things throughout our history that we're no longer a member of. In this country, Jess, we used to regulate the price of a chocolate biscuit, right? That actually used to be the role of the state. You couldn't go down to the happy shopper down the road and go in and say, right, well, there's market competition in chocolate biscuits. The state decided how much you could sell a chocolate biscuit for. So I don't think that's a reasonable, rational argument. I think it's reasonable and rational to be able to control who doesn't come here and not have interfering foreign courts dictate that for us. So I actually support this, Jess. I support, if it's true, I support it completely.
I mean, the ECHR has completely abandoned the original purpose of it, which Churchill established it. Like, it's gone so far beyond that. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they're blocking the democratic wants of the people. I mean, that's what Brexit was pretty much about. And I think even though we've won the battle with that, the war's still not over. With this, we need to leave the ECHR so we have proper control. And it's a shame it's got to this. Like, I think checks and balances are a good thing. But when they're blocking something so simple like this, that we can't control who comes in and out of the country, we can't, take preventative measures to stop that. I don't know if Rwanda's the solution to that, but at least it's an option. At least it could be a deterrent. I think that's a good thing that we have that in the bag. But the ECHR is blocking that. I think it's the only way forward to get out of that. So then we can give the British people what they want.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's a fundamental issue of national security, right? If you can't control, if you've got absolutely no idea, you know, Albanians made up, what was it, 30-40% of the total share of those that came here last year. I mean, many of them going off to get up to God only knows what in crime and all the rest of it. It's an issue of national security. It's actually about keeping our people safe. And if the ECHR are against Britain keeping its people safe, then we've got to say, sling your hook. I mean, Jess, Nigel Farage describes how you can walk from the European Parliament through a corridor into the ECHR. It's not explicitly linked to the European Union, but if you ask me, it is far too much of a bedfellow, almost literally, in that you can walk through to get to it and sit in the chamber if you want. So I actually think, you know, it's really, really farcical to suggest that we in this country wouldn't be able to protect human rights through our own Bill of Rights, and we have to depend upon a foreign court to keep us, you know, in check and in line. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's reasonable. And I think actually it's an affront to the British people that's got to end.
I saw a really amazing clip of Nigel Farage on GB News, and this activist lawyer was debating that we should stay in the ECHR, and he was like, Nigel Farage, do you value the right to life? And Farage went, I don't need some bureaucratic court to tell me that I, have the right to life. I think the British public can, validate that with a British Bill of Rights. I don't think we need some European court to tell us that we have the right to life.
Absolutely. And the idea that any British electorate would say, okay, I'm going to vote for a government that's going to take away my right to life. I mean, it's completely absurd. It's, unlike Canada, we're not telling old grannies that actually maybe it's best that, you just pop your clogs and we do self-assisted suicide and all this other stuff that's going on over there. Really quite sinister, if you ask me. And we're not a country that does that. We're a country that respects the rule of law, that respects rights. I mean, if anything, we've been a bedrock around the globe for these things. We were the foundation, the cornerstone for America's rights. It's so anti-British. I don't understand this contempt for our own country. I certainly don't think that. You don't think that. And I dare say most of our viewers don't either.